সুধীমণ্ডলী, আসসালামু আলাইকুম সবাইকে এবং শুভেচ্ছা জানিয়ে আজকে আমাদের ভয়েস অফ ব্যান্ট এর রীতিমতো নিয়মিত অনুষ্ঠান শুরু করছি। আমরা আমাদের কিছুটা সময়ের জন্য আজকে 10:30 অনুষ্ঠানটা শুরু করতে হলো। আজকে আমাদের সাথে আছেন একজন বিদেশি গেস্ট, নাম হচ্ছে গ্র্যান্ট টেইলর। সো আশা করি আপনাদের যদি কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকে তাকে জিজ্ঞাসা করবেন। আমি তাকে অনুষ্ঠান সেটে নিয়ে আসছি এবং তার সাথে ইন্ট্রোডিউস করব। যেহেতু উনি বাংলা বলতে পারেন না, ডেফিনিটলি আমাকে অনুষ্ঠানটা একটু ইংরেজিতে কন্ডাক্ট করতে হবে। আশা করি আপনারা সে বিষয়ে ক্ষমা সুন্দর চোখে দেখবেন। আমি এখন স্টেজে আনছি আমাদের গ্র্যান্ট টেইলরকে।
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Taylor. How are you?
I'm doing well, Reza. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, wonderful. And welcome to our show. And it has been a very pleasure for us to have you in our show and to introduce yourself to our community people. We are originally
Absolutely.
from Bangladesh people.
Thank you.
All right. So I just like to start the program just to know a little bit about you, so that you introduce yourself to the community people, and then I will introduce our Bangladesh, originally where from we are actually, and we got a lot of community people here in Dallas, in Texas. I would say about over 30,000 people. So
Wow.
that'll be very interesting for them to know something about yourself and the topic that we have selected today. And also, I will introduce the organization that I'm working for. It's a volunteer job. I will go over the things, and uh, and that's how we start the program. And I'd like to hear something from you that about yourself. What do you like to say to our community people that about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is Grant Taylor. I was born and raised here in Arlington, Texas. Went down to Sam Houston State University to study business administration and minor in management. Um, After college, I was in logistics down in Houston, working around the Harvey time hurricane. Um, After that, I moved on back up to the DFW area, and me and my wife we purchased our house. I was looking in a sales job. I started selling cars, and then I got promoted on up to the finance role.
Wonderful. Very nice. Good to know about that, that you are working in the finance role. I think a lot of people will be benefited from your talk, that how you present the things to the customer and how they get approved to buying a car, about the experience of a new buyer, maybe first time buyer. So all this we talk about. But I like to introduce you. It's my pride that I like to introduce my country a little bit to you, where from we are, and the people that you are talking to. This will be my first thing, and I'll also get you introduced with the community that I'm working for. That's BANT, Bangladesh Association of North Texas. So we'll go over these two things in a very short, and just sharing the screen, and then I will ask the questions, and the people in the community, if they ask questions to you, you will answer that thing. All right, Grant?
Absolutely, perfect.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let me just share some of the screens with you. So can you see the screen?
I can.
All right. So hold on a second. So I'd like to show you the map. So this is our geography, that we are just eastern side of India. The Bay of Bengal is on our south, and it's a South Asian country. So that is the location of Bangladesh. This is number one, I would say. And the next thing I would like to tell you, very interesting thing. So this structure that you see, this is called Panama City back in Bangladesh, and uh, these were built and developed. Can you see all those pictures?
I can.
Okay, so the picture that you see here, this was actually of the picture of late 13th century, where America was discovered in 15th century. I mean to say, even these structures were there in back in Bangladesh when even the America was not discovered.
Reza, would you be able to click on the photo and blow it up?
This one?
Any of them, because I'm seeing like a folder.
Oh, really? Oh, you are
Yeah, I'm
like a
seeing a
folder?
folder view. I'm not seeing.
Oh, I see. Uh, Hold on a second. What do you see now?
It's still in the folder. Voice of
Still on
BANT.
the folder view?
Hmm.
Okay, so let's see. Hold on a second. All right, so maybe one second. Sorry, Taylor.
No, it's okay.
Do you see the picture now?
Yes, yes. Now, wow.
Okay, so this is actually this was it's called Asan Monjil. This was back then almost. This is the picture of 18th century. 18th century. So that's in Dhaka city that we have. Let me show you some of the pictures as well, a little bit. But if I go one by one, it's taking a lot of time. Still, you see the folder, right?
Yeah, I see the folder right now.
Okay, can you see any blow up or anything from there? Or no, don't see the folder. If I let me see that if I can blow that up a little bit for you. All right, maybe that I'll present you something. Do you see a picture? This one?
I do. It's a pool and a sunset.
It's a
Very
pool,
beautiful.
sunset, and a beach. So actually, that
Yes.
is the longest beach, natural beach, in our country, south side of our country. There's the longest beach in the world. So there's the one of the
Wow.
pictures that I wanted to show you. So okay, the other thing I would go very quickly. Actually, it's taking time. And still, you see the folder view?
Yes.
Okay, I think let me organize while we talk about the things, and then I will show you some of the things. Okay,
Absolutely.
and just
Okay.
let me tell you, uh, because it's taking a long time. So once we talk and progress, then some of the time in between talk that will show you something. Let me tell you about this organization. The picture that you see at my back, that's called Voice of Band that we are organizing, and it's a part of the program that we conduct every fortnight, every 2 weeks, and same time at 11 a.m. for the community people to introduce so many guests of our guests to the community. And the band actually is a volunteer organization that we work for, and I will show you the pictures of our uh, the committee that I'm working for. You see this picture?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so this is the committee of our committee, and the man on the top he's our president, Mr. Shagar Shamsuddoha, and we have a vice president, Mr. Fahim Khan, and general secretary, Sheikh Liman, and all other members that you see here. We're working for this community as a volunteer organization, and this is the good thing that it's a non-profit organization, non-political, non-religious organization. What we do to the community is just to help our community people and introduce our national days of Bangladesh that they celebrate back in Bangladesh to our young generation. And we also run a school here, teach the people that they speak in, so that they can speak in Bangla. And if there is any problem with the community, uh, needing for help. If someone has passed away, we do their burial process. So these are the things we do certain things to our community people, and it's a volunteer service that we do occasionally and whenever it is needed. So that's all about the BANT organization, and we have a team. We have a monthly meeting. We also take a lot of pride of serving people, of our community people, and absolutely. And now you may ask the question that where from all the money comes. It is some of our generous people that they use their business money for some time. They donate us for some of the functions or the commitments that we do, like. So some of the national days that we celebrate here, and it takes a lot of funds, and we get the fund from those people, and with that actually we run this show and other things. So that's what we do, and that's how the money comes from. It's completely a volunteer organization, donation based things that we work on, and show our things to the people, and pass down our legacy to our next generation, teach them in Bengali. So that's what we do. This is the job of our organization. And also we do one more things that, okay, like our embassy is back in Washington. So there is a mobile consular service that sometimes they come to Dallas to give them the consular service. Like some of them, they need to update their passport, or some of the documents they need to update. So we organize and help those people to go over things. And that's how we help people. So that is
Very
basically in
nice.
short of the organization that what we do here. Uh, and now we'd like to go over certain things that how a first-time buyer can be approved, or like to say that whenever a customer comes to a dealership, how they should present themselves, how they can be a owner of a car. Just start with a little bit of things.
Okay, absolutely. So whenever you are looking to purchase a vehicle, because here in North Texas, Bangladesh associated North Texas, everyone here knows that you basically don't have a lot of walking distance places. You need a vehicle for almost everything, to go to your work, to go to see family, oftentimes grocery store and so on. So everyone needs a car, or at least it's a very nice thing to have here in North Texas. So
Right,
it's not if, but when you need to go to the car dealership. You can always look at aftermarket, such as like Facebook Marketplace and things like
right,
that, but you're not really sure on what you're getting. And a lot of us aren't really tuned in on vehicles and the mechanics of them and making sure your purchase is sound. So a lot of
right,
people opt to go to a car dealership. So if something does go wrong, they do have service technicians to be able to fix what's wrong, right?
right,
Um, so oftentimes we'll get first time buyers. There are some things that you need to know, okay? What I have told
right,
a lot of my customers is that imagine you're the banks. How would you feel about if I was a first time buyer and I've never financed anything before? What would you say to me if I asked for a $50,000 car? You'd be a little
right,
skeptical,
right,
and oftentimes it would be very difficult getting approved, right?
right,
There are some things that you can do to help mitigate or greater your chances for an approval. Okay.
all right,
Some things that I've always recommended for a first-time buyer is to start off small. Okay. There's a gradual process. And
okay,
no, it's not going to be the most flashy car, right? Uh, Oftentimes, if you're looking for a car, it's for A to B purposes. Um,
right,
so starting off small would be a first thing I would recommend for sure. It's
okay,
it's very difficult to get approved for 30, 40, $50,000 vehicle as a first time buyer. But even then, there are some things that can help. Some things that could help would be money down. Okay. So let's
Right.
imagine your vehicle that you're looking at is $30,000. Okay. Well, after tax,
Mm.
title, license, you're really close to 32, 33,000. Um, there is never a set number that you need to put down, but there are percentage recommendations. Okay. So there
Right.
could be 10%, 20%, so $3,200, $6,400, you know, those are oftentimes recommended. The more money down, the greater your chances are of getting approved. Okay. And that is
Right.
going straight towards your purchase. It's not going to anyone's pocket or anything like that. That is going
Right.
straight towards your loan. So you're really doing yourself a big favor whenever you're putting money down. Okay. And not every time does someone have five, six, $7,000 that they could put down on a vehicle, and that's very understandable. Something else that would help your chances is for a cosigner to be involved. Okay, what a
Okay.
cosigner is that they are going on the loan with you. Okay, they are associating their name to your name on this specific purchase. Okay,
Okay.
so technically they do have every right and ability towards the vehicle as the consumer or as the buyer or driver does. Okay,
All
it
right.
is very 50-50. So whoever you do go on a cosign, make sure that you have a good relationship with them. Okay,
Okay.
someone that
Could
you
be a
know
family
and
member also.
understand. One more time.
Could be a family member.
Yeah, absolutely. A family member. That's someone who I personally would co-sign for is any one of my family members. My family is a very, very
Right.
tight-knit family. Um,
Okay.
friends, girlfriends, things like that. It could be sometimes, you're
Right.
not sure exactly what's going to happen in 7 years. So, and
Right.
that's usually about the life of the loan is 6 years, 5 years. I mean, everyone reflect back on where they were 5, 6 years ago and think how different life was. I mean, if it wasn't a whole lot of difference, you're probably more established in your life and your patterns than not, but
Right.
oftentimes for the first time buyers, they're usually younger individuals that have less experience on this earth, right? Um,
Right.
but having a cosigner goes a great deal for you. Now, make sure that your cosigner does have finance history themselves, because
Okay.
what you got to ask yourself, what good does it do if you have two people that have never financed a vehicle go on the loan with each other,
Yeah.
that's something that happens often. It's like, well, that's not a major help. I mean, it does help. There's a little bit more commitment, you know, and that's what banks are looking for on first time buyers is how much skin is in the game for you. If you've never financed anything and you know credit is just like trust.
All
That's the
right.
best way I could describe what credit
The
is.
trust.
It's trust with the banks. It's very difficult to build it and earn it, and it doesn't happen overnight,
Yep.
but it is a slow and steady thing.
Study break.
But with
Okay.
that being said, how fast is it that you can get rid of trust? Pretty fast. It could happen overnight. That one can.
Right. If someone is like defaulting some of the major issues, like did not pay their bill, electric bill,
Hmm.
or did not pay their mortgage, so that is reported to their credit, and thereby they lose their credit, right? And damage their.
Absolutely, yeah. Your credit will take a hit because right now, um, credit is a quantifiable number that we all three or there's we have three bureaus, right? We have Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and they
Okay.
have their own internal scoring on how well you've paid what you've borrowed. Okay, that's all credit is how well have you paid, how much trust have you developed with the banks. Therefore, you'll hear certain numbers being thrown out. Oh, I have an 800 credit score. Okay. Well, I mean that's really good. That means you've always paid off what you've borrowed and you've done it for a little bit of time. But
Okay.
now, as a finance manager, I need to sit with the customer and say, okay, now let's go over all the stuff that we have borrowed, right? Because
Okay.
just because if you have an 800 credit score does not give you the right or ability to go out and finance a 60 or $70,000 car. You know, I take two individuals, right? And one is a younger individual that they have a credit card, which is part of your
Right.
revolving credit, not your installment loans. Okay.
Right.
So all they have is their credit card and they've swiped and they've paid and they swiped and they paid. Well, naturally, they're going to have a good score. You know, they've paid off everything that they've ever borrowed. They do have some sort of credit.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that they have the ability to finance $50,000 if their max line of credit is $2,000 or $5,000. You see what I
Okay.
mean?
Then I have a
That's
question here.
completely different.
Right, Grant, if I ask you that, if you don't mind asking, okay, you said that if the first-time buyer is like pretty well off and they have a good job that they can prove, but they don't have the much credit history, then what it happens in this case? Like somebody is earning about say $100,000 in a year
Mhm.
and has I mean, never defaulted in a credit, but do not have the credit history. So we have a lot of community people that they are professionals. They are
Mhm.
like doctors, engineers, but did not build the credit. As a businessman, established their well established their business, but may not have that long credit history. So
Right.
how the bank looks at those customers and also can put like a substantial amount of money, not very, maybe say 5-10%, they can put down the money, a 50,000 car or a 70-80,000 dollars car, uh, if they purchase and put like $5,000 to $10,000 down, how their chances of getting approved of those credits?
Well, that's a really good question. I'm not the banks. Okay, I could just tell you from my experience what helps their odds of getting approved. Okay,
From your
if you
experience,
haven't,
just you say, must have met this kind of customers, right?
can you repeat your question one more time?
No, I said that you must have met this kind of customers that has a
Absolutely.
good job, has a very
Hmm.
good earning, can put down a substantial amount of money, but maybe a first-time buyer, but don't have the credit history.
Right. And I would revert back to my first recommendation is starting off a little bit smaller, right? Um, you know, your next vehicle isn't going to be your forever vehicle. And yes, it might not be the most flashy, but for a first time buyer, banks usually feel comfortable financing, I would say anywhere in between 10 to higher teens amount financed with proper money down. Okay.
Right.
So if you're looking at a $50,000 vehicle, I'm sure you'd get approved with $30,000 down, you know? Um,
Right.
and no one wants to kind of put
Fair
$30,000
amount of
down on
money.
a vehicle. I mean, that's very tough, you know? Um,
Exactly.
but that's why I say starting off smaller and not looking at the $50,000 vehicle and looking at maybe the $30,000 vehicle and putting 10 down, you know, or 7 down would help your chances and odds.
Okay, wonderful. Good to know because I know that some of the people they don't like to drive this smaller range vehicle like a little lower price vehicle. They want a good vehicle above even $50,000.
Hmm.
But as I said, that may not have that good credit history. But the only way that they can put down more monies and get this vehicle, right? That could be the
Right,
way.
right. If you are a first time buyer, and not only that, again, keep in mind that this isn't going to be every single time. It's the first
Okay.
time that you need to wedge yourself in that door and give yourself an opening to start building some installment loan history. It's not going to be, well, next time you need to put more down. That's not the case. First, you have
Okay.
to get established. Mhm.
Right. Okay, Grant, I would ask you the next question, the other side of the story. Like, if someone is not that financially affluent but has credit history, may not be that good credit history, uh, I understand that how those cases are dealt and how those cases should come to a dealership and would like to buy a car, a challenged credit, uh, not a good credit history maybe. How do you look at those customers, or how the bank looks on those customers? You
Okay,
understand what I mean?
so let me make sure I understand correctly. So a customer comes in and they do have credit history, installment
Yes.
loans, they financed vehicles or a house before,
Right.
and so on. But life happens, as I like to say, and you've hit some bumps and bruises along the way,
Right.
and your credit has taken a little bit of a tumble. What can they do to increase their odds?
Right. Exactly. Or how
Okay,
they can be owner of a car, maybe like to buy a good car, or
absolutely.
I mean, how do you see those customers? How the bank looks at those customers? That's my question.
So those ones are a little bit more frequent than first time buyers, right? First time
Yes.
buyers, the world is your oyster, right? It's just how do I need to build this roadmap in order to get what I want later on down. For the people that have had bumps and bruises on their credit history, it,
Right.
it's it's a little bit tougher, I mean, it's difficult to say exactly. Things that I would recommend to a first time buyer, I would
Right.
recommend it to someone that's had some bumps and bruises drastically. And it really depends on what's all happened. Each case is
Right.
individual, is separate. I mean, just because your score is over here and your score is over
Right.
here, I actually like my chances a whole lot better for getting an approval on a mid to low 600 with a lot of history versus an 800 with no history or little to no history, right?
Okay.
But if you're looking at scores south of that, right? If life really happened and you went through some things, and again, I understand it. I'm not here to judge anyone on their credit history and their
Right.
their scores. Um, what I can recommend is starting off again super small and kind of building up, because how do you get trust back?
Okay. If they have any kind of a co-signer with has a good history, will that help a little bit?
Absolutely, I would. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
um,
that could be one of the ways, like a family member, maybe that their
yes.
son has a good credit history, or daughter has a good credit history, or a sister has a good credit history, but the gentleman who wants to buy a car doesn't have a good credit history, but he had a long credit history, but it has some bumps and bruises in the ways. They damage the credit. So do you think
Absolutely.
that those can help, that with a better credit history, a guy is co-signing with them or a family member is co-signing with them so they can buy a little better car, a little
it,
upgraded car?
it can. And when I sit down with a customer and they've had some rocky history,
Yeah.
I'll sit there and I'll let them know exactly what the banks are saying. I'll print off their credit report history. I'll say, look, I mean, this is what the banks are saying, right? So right now, they are asking for us to be on maybe less vehicle. My first goal whenever I've had someone that has had history of negative remarks on their credit.
Right.
My first goal is let's see if we can get approval, period, because sometimes banks don't want to give an approval. Maybe it's too recent of something
Okay.
happening, right? In that case, that they would need to just have some time. Again, if I broke your trust, Reza, would you trust me right away and give me another shot, or sometimes it takes a little bit of time for you to get over me breaking your trust, and a little bit of
Right.
time by I could do a lot of changing and soul searching for myself in the next 2 years, and then try again.
All right. Sure. That's for sure. That if someone breaks trust, actually that takes a little bit of time to regain that trust.
Yes,
Uh, I
absolutely.
think
Having a
same way the bank
cosigner,
works. But I have another question. Like the bank, all these the document that you submit to approve a credit for a customer to buy a car,
mhm,
all this happens electronically. How
yes.
bank can judge? Okay, so how this happens actually? Or they set the parameters, certain kind of things, and is automatically get approved. Or you need to, how do you make the process good? I mean, like, okay, you know somebody that the credit history might have bumps and bruise, uh, but you understand, or you can judge a little bit that he might have a good chance of returning the money and going back and getting the car. But all those things are done electronically. How it is? How do you do that finally? I mean, do you talk to the bankers to get him approved, something like that?
Yes, oftentimes. So we have different systems that we use to input a consumer's or customer's information. So,
Okay.
let's say you're a person that is going to go buy a car. Okay. So the
Right.
process is you'll sit down with a salesperson, they'll go over your wants and your needs. You'll find a
Right.
vehicle. If you like it, fantastic, we're on to the next step. If not, you go back to the drawing board. Everyone kind of knows that process. Um,
Okay.
but what happens after that is, let's say you like the vehicle, you want to take it home today. Fantastic. Okay. So
Okay.
the salesperson is going to come by and collect what's known as a credit application. Without a credit application, I can't reach out to the banks. You can buy the car cash. So if you have, let's say, $35,000 you want to spend on a car, and you have that in a duffel bag or a personal check or what have you, you have that ability. You don't have to finance that vehicle. Okay.
Right.
But assuming you are financing it, you're going to be making monthly payments on it for extended amount of time, whether it be 48 months, 36 months, 60 months, 72 months, even 84 months, and in some cases, 96 months. So, 8 year loan.
Right.
Um, well, you have to then fill out a credit application. The salesperson comes by and brings it to me. And at that point, I'll use my system to input your information, and
Right.
all your records are kept. So let's imagine if you have a driver's license,
Right.
just a 8-digit code for your Texas driver's license is all that someone really needs to have to look up your information. Now, we don't
Right.
look up any information other than we submit your credit. We do pull it ourselves, so we look through it, see exactly, because we can send it off to a bunch of different banks, but I personally like to mitigate the banks that I send it to. So I'll look
Okay.
through the history to see what kind of candidate are you, because everyone
Right.
likes to imagine that their credit is very, very good, right?
Okay.
But sometimes it is, and sometimes it's very average, and that's okay too. Average credit still works and gets you approved. You know,
Right.
because after 750, 780, at that point you qualify for the same interest rates as an 860. It goes up to 900. I've only ever seen one in my whole car business experience, right? I've only ever seen one 900, and there's no real way of getting it other than it's an algorithm, right? It just
Okay.
processes and finds out. But we submit all your information, such as your first name, last name, date of birth, social, uh, very personal information, what you do for a living, who you do it for, how much money you make, how long have you been at your residence, how long have you been at your job for, your address, all of that stuff. You have a digital thumbprint, that lets you know exactly who you are, and the banks see that. You can buy a car without a driver's license here in Texas. Okay. There are some
Right.
banks that are willing to do it. There are some banks that are willing to do it without a social. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Um, if you don't have a social, most of the time, if you are here legally, you would
Okay.
have an I-10 number. Okay. And that's the identical version of a social. If you don't have a social or an I-10, then there is no documentation that you're over here, right?
Right. Exactly.
So you have to have one of those two in order to get financing. Um, but a social or an I-10 would work. Some banks are okay with an I-10. Most banks prefer social, and that's okay. That's understandable. Um,
Right.
but we can get it done with an I-10. We can get it done with a passport oftentimes, you know. We can get it done with a Texas identification card, not just a driver's license. Um, but there are different ones. You know, we're not able to get it done with a matricula. You know, from Mexico, that's a Mexican driver's license, but we're not able to get it done with that. And there's other documents that we don't accept.
I see. Okay, Grant. So I think we learned enough about these things. Like if someone has any question or anything, somebody might ask a question, or if there is no question, it's well understandable the way you explain. So what I will do next, I will go to a very particular segment, a little bit of time for 5 minutes. That where did you work and what kind of vehicle that you sell, if you can tell all those. But before that, I there were some problems to show you the pictures. I'm very much interested to show you some of the pictures of Bangladesh that I belong to, and we are proud of that. So just I can go very quickly. Just can you see this picture?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so it's a bridge. Actually, it's a
That is a
milestone bridge.
long bridge. It looks
It's
like.
about that's why that's a landmark bridge in our country. It's called Podda Bridge, one of the major rivers that we had in our country and divided the whole country in two sections, two segments. And so there is a bridge about more than 6 kilometers long. So this is one of
Wow.
the milestone bridge that we have. Okay, the next one is very interesting thing. This is one part of our country that's called tea garden. You see, we have one of the largest tea garden in the whole world, and we export teas to so many European countries and everywhere in the best tea production takes place here in back in Bangladesh. So that's a tea garden.
How
Okay, then
green it
speak.
is. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
tea garden is one part of our, and that's our city actually, the capital
Wow.
city.
That's buildings as far as I can see.
That's our Dhaka city. Very densely populated people, and if I tell you the short history, actually, in 1947, uh, the India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh used to be one subcontinent. Okay, and then in 1947, it got divided based on religion. Based on Hinduism, it was India, and based on Muslim, it was Pakistan, and Pakistan had two parts. The Pakistan that you know now, that was West Pakistan, and this Bangladesh used to be East Pakistan. And back in 1975, again it got divided and was born a new country called Bangladesh. So that's the short history actually. This is also another picture of a tea garden. Okay, this is one of the typical pictures of our village and the rural areas that where people live. A lot of greens are there actually. Um, Okay, this is one of the pictures of our port that we have one of the very largest port in the country. It's in Chittagong port. So we have the south portion of our country is open to Bay of Bengal. Let's
That's
see.
a lot of shipping containers. You know,
Yeah, a
they
lot
look
of
like
shipping.
little
Yeah,
Legos on that screen, you know, but those shipping
yeah,
containers, they're pretty big.
yeah. That's a seaport that we have. So again, there's the city in nighttime. Okay, that is making. So this is one of our cultural event that we conduct. It was called Fobana, Federation of Bangladesh Association of North America. This is one of the organizations that Bangladeshi people they organize things, and every year there is a program in different cities of the country. Some it encompasses this Canada, Bangladesh, and America. So that's a huge turnout. It takes place, and the budget goes about more than $300,000 to conduct the whole show. The event takes place about 3 days. So
Wow.
the BANT, Bangladesh Association of North Texas, actually conduct a show just last year. Um, this is also a program that we conduct like this one. These are all our heritage and culture that we try to project to the people that live here. Uh, this is also another program that we have 21st February is the International Mother Language Day of the country. Um, and that's celebrated all over the world actually. The only place in the world that the country had to give the lives to have their mother language, so that is Bangladesh, and that's how it is celebrated.
Wow.
So we are going just sporadically, this one also a program. Okay, so this is also a kind of picnic that we conducted a few months back. This is our school actually, that Bangla school that we conduct here. The children that are born here in United States, they face a lot of difficulties to speak in Bangla or to learn this proper way of speaking Bangla language. So we run a school from the BANT, and a lot of children they participate once in a week. I think that is another picture of our elevated expressway in the Dhaka city. We have also metro rail in the country. Okay, so this is another view of the bridge that I was showing in the initial stage. It's about more than 4 miles long length in the bridge. There's the night view of the country. So, and the last thing I would say, this is a traffic time, the huge traffic time we have on our street. It's a huge, yeah, it's a
Wow.
morning, yeah. Uh, so that's all about those some of the pictures that I wanted to show you and introduce of Bangladesh, actually. So we'll now focus back to the place that where you work for and what kind of car that sells, and if you share some of the experience of that one.
Absolutely. I currently work at Clay Cooley, Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Arlington.
Right.
Before it was Clay Cooley, it was Don Davis. So I've been at that location for about 5 years.
But I think many people knows about the name of Don Davis, right? Don Davis was very popular somewhere.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Don Davis was established back in the late 70s. So it's been around for 45 plus years, but they actually just sold to Clay Cooley, which is a lot more known in Dallas County. Dallas County, they
Right.
have a good amount of locations. I believe they had 19 locations before they purchased Don Davis, which was 3 locations. So that brings them up to, yeah, it's it's a newer thing that happened just at the beginning of last month. So
Okay, I see. And if you tell about what kind of car that you sell and that's the experience that you have.
absolutely, we
It's
sell Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram on the new car side. So you have
okay.
Wranglers, you have some trucks, some Grand Cherokees, some Chrysler Pacificas, which are very, very nice. And then on the pre-owned side, it's a hodgepodge. It's anything that was traded in or purchased in the auction. So I mean, even though you know, we don't have a Clay Cooley Honda store, there
Right.
are Hondas and Toyotas and things like that.
Okay. All right. All right. So thank you. And I would say that I know that you have some commitments to go somewhere. I would not keep you. It's one of the last 1 or 2 minutes that will be on the show, and we'll wind up this one today's event. So actually, we were. I think if some people wants to buy a car, they should really maintain, or from the beginning, if someone wants to be a first-time buyer, they really have to be very careful of putting some kind of money down or have a co-signer with them who has a credit history. Is there
Yes.
anything else that you like to advise some of the community members? Because our community members are typically, I would say, almost the same thing, but there are a lot of professionals in our community. There are a lot of people, affluent people, those who have good business, good jobs, but may not have the credit history. But on the flip side, also there are certain things that okay, people are living here for a long time, but may not be that affluent in financially, may not have taken good care of their credits and everything. Uh, so if you give your final concluding remark that how they can be a proud owner of a car, I think you covered enough. But just make a summary of the whole thing, and we just wind up like it.
Yeah, absolutely. In closing statement, um, buying a car should be fun, right? It could be a lot of fun making sure, because I mean, the vehicle that you purchase, oftentimes people trade cycle is in between 4 to 8 years or so. So, all
I
the
see.
new memories you create with your vehicle, um, it could be a really, really exciting time. The finance
Yeah,
side, it could be a little bit of a, not so fun moment, but I try to make it as light as possible. But I do understand and respect that it's a big purchase, and
sure.
there's who likes making those big decisions that fast, some things I would recommend, to anyone that is purchasing a vehicle is do some research. Do some research on what you're looking for. Um, well, pricing information, keep in mind for every 10,000 you finance is about $200 of a car note. So if you
Right.
are looking, for a vehicle, but you have a strict budget of, let's say, $800 a month, okay,
Okay.
which is a good amount, then you'd want to be financing close to $40,000. Okay.
Right.
And that's
It's
a rule
very
of thumb, but that's it's usually very general. Just if you are if you have a car right now, viewers at home, ask yourself what's your monthly payment and ask to see if you remember how much you financed. See if that rule isn't super close to yourself. Is your payment $600 and you finance $30,000? I mean, that's one of those that, and just keep everything relative. If you're paying 600 now, but you don't want to go up a whole bunch in budget, then going up a whole bunch in car would not be able to. It just, you know, doesn't math out the way it should. Okay, and people at the car dealership, they can bend some math, but they can't break the rules of math. Okay.
I see. Yes, yes, for sure. Thank you, Grant. I really learned one thing that, and I'll also speak to my community members if I have any chance that, okay, if they want to buy a car and they have something figure in their mind, okay, that rule of thumb that is said that if they want to spend $600 to pay, they should be looking at some kind of $30,000 to finance. This is
That's
one
right.
thing that I learned today. And yeah, definitely I'll tell. I have one last question. I know that inflation is killing the whole people actually, and going the interest rate is very very high. What is your prediction like after January the 20th or the new administration takes over after a few months? Do you think that the inflation will come down? It's just a prediction. I mean, I know you don't have a straight answer on that. Do you think that
Yeah.
inflation will come down and people can have some better interest rates to buy and better economic condition? Just a wild guess, I would say. Just tell from your experience and
Hopefully, hopefully. I mean, in my experience, I don't have that crystal ball. I can't tell you one way or another, and I don't know exactly. But
exactly.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. We'll see in the future. But um, yeah, that is all the time I have left today. Reza, thank you so much for bringing me on to your podcast. I really do appreciate it. I hope that some people have learned some things from this. Um, if anyone does have any questions, please let me know, or you could let Reza know, and he would love to ask me, and I'll go ahead and let everyone know. But other than that, come see us over at Clay Cooley, okay?
Thank you so much, Grant, for being in this show and talking to our community people. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much. Have a great day and enjoy your day, Grant. Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Bye bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye. সেই দর্শক মন্ডলী, আমি জানি এটা আমাদের জন্য হয়তোবা কিছুটা যারা এই জিনিসটা থেকে কিছুটা নিতে চান তাদের জন্য, যে আজকে যেটা জানলাম একটা রুল অফ থাম, সেটা হচ্ছে যদি আপনারা একটা পেমেন্ট যদি আপনাদের মনে থাকে যে আমরা এই ধরনের পেমেন্ট দিয়ে একটা গাড়ি কিনতে চাই, $600 পেমেন্ট বা $500 পেমেন্ট, রুল অফ থাম যেটা আমরা শিখলাম সেটা হচ্ছে প্রতি 10,000 এর জন্য ইন অ্যান অ্যাভারেজ $200 পেমেন্ট আসে। সেটাই আমাদের জন্য একটা জিনিস থাকবে। আর ক্রেডিটটা কিভাবে ভালো রাখা যায় সেটা তো নিশ্চয়ই আপনারা জানেন সবাই। আশা করি এই অনুষ্ঠান দেখার জন্য আপনাদের সবাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন। আবারও দেখা হবে 2 সপ্তাহ পরে। সবাইকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ।